All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. My name is Solène Souquet. I work for Asteroid, your specialist in running local performant IXPs. Today, we're going to talk about peering, and more specifically, peering for the banks. And to cover this topic, we have two lovely speakers lined up. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, Remco.
Yes, hi, Solène, and good afternoon, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Ready for a lot of exchange?
Yes, looking forward to.
Great. So let me first introduce you, Emmanuel. Emmanuel is sales manager at PAIX, the Pan-African data center provider, and is responsible for growing the community at the PAIX facility in Nairobi. And prior to this position, Emmanuel, you worked for Safaricom and Liquid. So you bring a rich perspective in terms of both sides, I would say, data center and internet service providers.
Yes.
So thanks, Emmanuel, for joining us.
All right, thank you.
And our second speaker is someone you probably know from his many involvements in the internet industry, such as being part of the RIPE board or co-chairing the Connect working group of RIPE, but he's our very own CEO as well, Remco van Loek.
Hey, Solène, good afternoon.
Thank you for being here today. It's good to have you because you bring also a long experience, 20 plus years experience in data centers, in interconnection, and in interconnection at data centers. So brilliant. I look forward to what you have to say.
Looking forward to the discussion later.
So today we're going to start with the presentations. We have set 15 minutes to cover the topic, and we will be answering the participants' questions and comments at the end of the presentations. So please feel free to drop any comment, any questions you have in the chat. And one more thing before we start, this session is recorded, so you will be able to watch the replay very shortly in a few days once it's uploaded online. And without further ado, the virtual floor is yours, Emmanuel.
Yeah, so I'm happy to join this session. And as Solène has introduced me, my name is Emmanuel, and I work for PAIX Kenya as the sales manager. So yeah, for a start, who is PAIX Data Centers? So PAIX Data Centers is a Pan-African data centers operating, building and operating data centers across Africa. And so far we have operations in Ghana, Kenya, and soon Ivory Coast. And in Kenya, our data center is located in Britam Tower, which is in the Upper Hill region of Nairobi, which is the business district of Nairobi, where we have the major banks and major financial institutions as our neighbors. So we started operations in April this year, and so far we have 13 carriers, 13 connectivity providers, and 2 internet exchanges, of which Asteroid is one of them. So basically, we provide world-class data center services, where we provide colocation services, hosting customer equipment. Yeah. And some of the benefits that accrue to the customers is we provide infrastructure, which is has reliable power, and also we provide need for infrastructure, which is So the services which we provide, we provide cabinet space, we provide cages, we also provide Excuse me, I'm having some challenges here. Sorry about that. So I was talking about the services which we provide. We provide co-location services where we have a data center set up in Upper Hill. So we have cabinets, provide cages, and most importantly, the connectivity. This one we don't provide directly, but we have a community of internet service providers that are already present in our data center, which our customers are able to pick connectivity from. So being a carrier neutral data center simply means that our customers have the choice and the freedom to pick the connectivity providers of their choice. Apart from this, also within this short period of time, we have been able to get certification for PCI DSS, which is this payment card industry data security standards, which means we are compliant to host customers who are also holding a customer data information. We have also undergone a certification process for the business continuity management system, as well as information security management. So we are very soon we are going to get this certification. So apart from that, we also offer the professional hands and eyes services, where for the customers who are not in Nairobi or they're in other parts of the country, we are able to give them remote support. Then some of the specifications we have as a data center is we have built a redundant infrastructure where we have enough power. We have generators on site, UPS. We also have a controlled environment where we have deployed cold aisle containment, and we are able to monitor and provide the set temperatures for the customer equipment. Yeah, I think I will end it there so that I don't take much of the time.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for the overview of your services. As you mentioned, you are one of our partners in Kenya, and we are very happy to work with you. So let's hear about your presentation, Remco.
Yes, let me get that started. Just give me a second. Here we go. Can everyone see this? Is this fine?
We can see it.
Good. Well, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about why banks should peer at internet exchange points. We are doing this in collaboration with PAIX. Emmanuel has already given the introduction. I will talk about Asteroid a little bit later on in this presentation. Specifically, what we're going to be talking about is peering and the relevance of this concept of peering for banks. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them during the chat. And we've reserved some time after the presentations to answer any questions. M-banking, mobile banking. Kenya ranks the second highest mobile payment usage in the world. This is for banks, this shouldn't come as a surprise. For a lot of non-Kenyans and non-Africans, this is a bit of a surprise. The whole system of M-Pesa, of course, has kick-started this really early on, and Kenya now ranks second highest in mobile payment usage. There's a lot of online transactions going on. 87% of the GDP of Kenya in 2020 is transacted via mobile wallets and phones. This is an enormous number. And right now, 17 of the largest Kenyan banks, including the CBK, have what is called an autonomous system number, which provides them, the name says it, autonomy on the internet. So they can make their own decisions with how they are present on the internet. And do not depend on a telecoms provider to do that for them. What is the role of an IX, of an IXP? An internet exchange point drives local interconnection by providing a network facility for multiple networks, for these autonomous systems to exchange traffic. Now, this sounds really complicated, but at the end of the day, what it is a piece of network hardware that a lot of networks connect to, and then use that that piece of infrastructure to send traffic to each other. Why would anyone do this? There's a number of benefits. One of them, a key benefit these days, is getting your services closer to the end users. If you have a mobile banking product, you want to have that banking product delivered to the end users sitting behind internet service providers as quickly as possible. And you can do that in two ways. You can either have direct connections to those ISPs, which may or may not scale well, and the ISP may or may not be interested in that. And the other option is to have an aggregator, a platform like an IX, sit there. Quicker service delivery process. Because there is an aggregator, you don't actually have to run a new cable every time, and you get a better quality of service and performance. What else does it do? Well, by adding an exchange to your mix of delivery of traffic delivery methods, you get alternative local paths. You get more ways of sending your traffic. If you are experiencing a DDoS attack that is filling up your transit links, then your local interconnection is still fine. You can reroute your traffic at will. You can make snap decisions on this traffic now needs to go here and that traffic now needs to go there. And you can address a growing number of community networks. I've seen some recent number on the amount of community networks, community Wi-Fi networks that are now being built in Kenya, and all of them are looking for this same autonomy, for this same they're running their own routing, being connected to the internet independently. And if you're a bank, you're connected to an exchange, you automatically get visibility to all of them who end up at the exchange. So all the newcomers and all the unique bits of end user infrastructure that they bring are automatically part of the ecosystem that you can deliver your applications to. And there's the route servers of an exchange are a method to make that even easier. So you no longer even have to specifically define what you're going to send to whom, because the route server will do that for you. Cost effectiveness. This is always a bit of an odd one talking to banks about. You're going to reduce the need for IP transit. Your telco is going to sell you less bits. The exchange itself has a fixed rate for the port. So you're buying a set piece of capacity and that's it. There's no additional charges for traffic or anything. And the peering pricing is very attractive. So coming to the last point is securing traffic. It is outside the wild internet. There's a one-on-one relationship between you and the end user network, and you can decide what you want to do with that connection. The IX itself filters the routes that are propagated by the route server. So We are what's called Manners compliant. Manners is an internet-wide initiative to make sure that people do proper filtering. So we are following the gold standard in terms of those rules. And you get to decide who gets to see your traffic and the other way around. So summarizing, you keep and develop traffic locally, you bring your services closer to the end users, you're optimizing your network infrastructure and connectivity costs, and you improve the security and resilience of your network. Right, now, Asteroid. Who is Asteroid and who is Asteroid in Kenya? It's taken a bit of a long start. We established our first exchange after a lot of discussion with the regulator in early 2020. We operate across 3 separate continents: Africa, Europe, North America, since 2016. Asteroid only does internet exchanges. We don't do anything else. We don't do data centers. We don't do telecoms, transport, transit services. The only thing we do is sell local interconnection. We think we're very cost effective. A 1 gigabit connection costs $120 a month. 10 gig costs $360 a month. And if you want more than 10 gigs, there's also a 40 and 100 gig product available, which we don't see happening in the Kenyan market anytime soon, but who knows. And it is highly available and automated. The platform itself is completely automated. There's no one typing on a command line anywhere. So we started in Mombasa early 2020, located at Aikolo. We have over 20 networks connected there. We recently had to upgrade our equipment there to allow for more connections. We have daily traffic of about 10 gigabits with peaks up to 15, which is very significant considering there was nothing in Mombasa until a year ago. What we're adding and what we're very excited about is Asteroid in Nairobi. We are in the finishing up stages of getting our infrastructure live, getting fiber installed as we speak. It's a distributed exchange across 3 sites, including PAIX. We have 1 gig, 10 gig, and 100 gig ports available. And there's a special offer for anyone who wants to connect before the end of the year. We'll give you 3 months for free. That is all I have to say. I can imagine there's a number of questions. So I would propose we go to those. So Len, can you?
Thank you, Remco, for the presentation. Well, I see that our participants are a little bit shy in asking questions. So I have 2 for you. The first one is for you, Emmanuel. Since you have this experience of working in the past for Safaricom, and Safaricom has been leading the way in mobile banking services with M-Pesa, do you see a momentum currently in the banking market to improve interconnection, to get ahead and master the traffic of the institution for the banks themselves?
Yeah, I think there is increased appetite to improve the interconnection. And we have seen most banks in Kenya have adopted mobile banking with almost 80% to almost 90% of the volumes of transactions now happening online. And most of the branches, like one of the leading banks recently announced that they are now changing their branches to become advisory centers, not a place for transactions. So we are seeing most of the transactions going online, and the banks are investing heavily in the infrastructure to make sure that the user experience on the internet is much better. And we are seeing a trend where most banks are now hosting their equipment in the data centers where they have access to connectivity providers And also now we are trying to create awareness for them to connect with the internet exchanges so that they can benefit from the items which Remco has just articulated.
Excellent. Thank you, Emmanuel. I see that we have questions in the chat now. The first question, Remco, is for you. Do Asteroid peer with other local Kenyan IXPs, and which internet service providers peers with Asteroid?
That's a two-part question. Internet exchanges themselves do not peer. It is the point of interconnection. Think of it as a marketplace. You don't connect one marketplace to another marketplace to get people to the other marketplace. You have one marketplace and you have another one. So Asteroid does not peer with local Kenyan IXs. Actually, what we're doing in Nairobi is already a little bit special for us, where we're connecting 3 data centers together, which is something we typically don't even do. Which ISPs peer with Asteroid? I would have to defer that question to Solen. I don't have the full list to hand right now, but it is we have over 20 in Mombasa right now, and I think what we have lined up for Nairobi is around 30 or 40. So it is pretty much, I mean, pretty much the answer is yes. Yes,
so our list for Mombasa is public on our website. You can go to asteroidhq.com to have a look. For Nairobi, since we are getting started, we have a list of initial peers that would like to get connected, and this will happen in the upcoming weeks. So make sure that you register your interest by dropping us an email, and we will keep you posted with the list of the people connecting. And of course, we will publish on our website in due time. We have other questions. Can the gentleman elaborate on the data security arrangement? In how far are the systems protected by the data center? So perhaps, Emmanuel, you would like to start? You are on mute.
Yes. So for us, we mainly focus on the physical infrastructure by providing the adequate environment for the customer to host their servers which contain their data. But we do not get into the customer servers or the customer data environment. So we just provide power, cooling, and the physical security, and ensure that the underlying infrastructure supporting connectivity, that is, we ensure that the connectivity providers have put in enough redundancy, and even from our design, we have several meet-me rooms just to ensure that the connectivity is secure. So we don't get into the customer environment. It's the responsibility of the customer to safeguard their data.
All right, thank you. Remco, would you like to add something?
Data security arrangement. I mean, the role for an IX is limited. We don't add layers of encryption or anything. But what I will say is that by having a very clearly defined traffic path going from A to B, you know exactly where the traffic is going to go and not going to go. So in that sense, it provides a level of certainty of who gets to see traffic on your exchange and on coming in and out of your network.
While we are talking about the security, there is a linked question. How secure are the IXP when banks interconnect, considering the rise of cyber attack on banks? And it's something you touched upon, Remco, anti-DDoS capacity. Do you care to elaborate?
That is a great question. The IXs are secure in the sense that it is a local piece of infrastructure. There's virtually no ways of remote hacking into them. And even if you get some level of control of the exchange, then you still don't get to see the traffic. The main risk of banks and online business right now is volumetric attacks, DDoS attacks. And what the PAIX does in support of banks and basically everyone who connects, it provides a lot of additional bandwidth into their infrastructure at a low cost that they can use to specifically send traffic, basically avoiding and working around any path that it is getting a DDoS attack. Typically, you will find in Kenya that a DDoS comes in for your transit provider. And then you have another path that you can use to still access your end users. So the impact of a DDoS attack gets lower because the paths that you're using to deliver traffic are not getting congested. So that's that. There was another question about banks hosting applications to cloud, and I'd like to answer connected to this. We're not just connecting banks and ISPs. We're also in fairly evolved conversations with all the cloud providers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Some of them are connected in Mombasa already. We're expecting to see them in Nairobi as well. So any application that is getting hosted on any of those cloud providers is also going to be available through the exchange.
Thank you, Remco. Emmanuel, there is a question for you, which is more about people. What prevents someone from your team from tapping the traffic or turning rogue? What kind of monitoring do you have in place for your own staff?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. We have actually undergone ISO certification process for 27001, which is about information security management. And we have put policies and measures in place to ensure that only staff with a certain access to certain information have that right. So we have policies in place and ways of dealing with that internally to make sure it doesn't happen. And even in terms of the network, the way we have designed it is that our own internal network is very separate from the customer network within the data center. So there's no possibility of any of our staff getting into the customer environment. Our networks are very separate, and it was part of that process.
So there's one small thing I'd like to add to that answer is Asteroid is actually one of the very few exchanges that allows a customer to have a live look at the light levels that we receive on the exchange from your port, because we only allow people with fiber connections. And the interesting thing about a fiber connection is you can measure how much light is coming into it. And if anyone, for any reason, decides to go and tap into this with a splitter or anything else, that is going to be reflected in the light level that we see at the exchange. And it is something that you can see as a customer as well. So you can keep track of what is going on your physical connection to the exchange platform.
So it's something you can instantly take care of.
It's something you can monitor and react on. Yes.
Excellent. We have another question. Does Asteroid as an IXP peers with AWS local CloudFront site at EADC?
The answer to that is not yet. And that's all I'm allowed to say.
Right, on to the next one. Is the knowledge gap of having to run BGP a restrictor for pushing the concept of peering into organizations that traditionally take a managed service? What do you think? Perhaps Emmanuel first?
Sure, Emmanuel.
I think I'll let Remco go with this.
Okay, fine. Colin, great question. Yes, there is a knowledge gap. Is it a restrictor? Yes and no. I mean, is a lack of knowledge about cloud services restricting organizations to start using cloud services? Maybe a little bit. There's some organizing you need to do in order to take a network away from basically just buying a managed service from a telco and saying, take care of this for me, and give me a gold-plated SLA, to establishing more autonomy. At the same time, I don't think there's much of a choice on banks, on the side of banks and any content providers really, who have this level of interest in making sure their service gets delivered. You want to be in control of what's going on. So yes, there's an additional hurdle in how much do I need to learn. At the same time, running BGP to connect to an exchange is on a completely different scale of complexity than it is to run a massive internet transit network with lots of different POPs in lots of different countries. So you have, yes, there's BGP as an additional sort of thing you need to do, but at the same time, if you're just configuring a static route, that also doesn't work, right? Because you want to have resilience, and in order to do resilience, you need to have some sort of resilience protocol. So, and typically in an interdomain situation, that's already BGP. So yeah, it does have a little bit of an impact, but it's a hurdle that people have to take regardless.
Thank you, Remco. We have a last question, which is, what's the market penetration for both organizations? It's anonymous. Perhaps the person can detail.
Well, so I mean, just looking at traffic volumes for the Kenyan market, which I'm going to be using as a yardstick for this, I'm going to say that just IX, RIX in Mombasa has taken about a 40% market share of Kenyan internet exchange traffic. So that would be our market penetration, I guess.
Thank you, Remco.
And,
Are there any questions?
Well, I mean that's for both organizations. So I'm assuming Emmanuel is keen to jump in on this as well.
Yep, actually, I was doing that. So, in terms of market penetration, PAIX has an operation in Ghana that our DC is already full, and we're in the process of building a second phase of it. So in Ghana, we are doing very well. In Kenya, we just started operations in April this year, and we are now at the third major DC player in Kenya. So far, we already have 13 carriers and 2 internet exchange providers, as well as we're having a good number of customers coming on board. So in terms of market penetration, I think we are doing very well. And even this explains why Asteroid has chosen, to do that ring, to interconnect PAIX with the other data centers, because we are part of that data center diversity in Nairobi.
Absolutely, and you are located in a very important part of the city.
Very important part of the city. Most of the other DCs are the outskirts of Nairobi, but for us, we are at the very middle of the financial district, closer to these customers, closer to the banks, closer to these insurance companies that we're trying to offer solutions to.
And this is key. Thank you, Emmanuel. I think that concludes our session for today. It was great insights, great questions. Thanks so much for both the speakers and the participants. As I mentioned earlier, you will have a recording of this live session shortly available. It's something that we want to organize on a regular basis. So if some of the participants have ideas that they would like to, some topics they would like to see tackled, let us know. And of course, reached out to Remco, Emmanuel, and myself to discuss any peering projects in Kenya, in Nairobi, and in Mombasa. I wish you all a lovely weekend.
All right.
Thanks again for coming, and
Happy
Thank you.
Friday, great weekend, and good to see you all.
All right.